Primobolan exists in two distinct forms that produce different effects at varying dosages. The oral version and injectable version. Share the same active compound but differ significantly in their pharmacokinetics, efficacy, and safety profiles. Comparing 300 mg and 400 mg weekly doses of both forms reveals important distinctions that influence their suitability for different performance enhancement goals. Pharmacokinetic differences. This steady-state environment supports gradual but quality muscle growth and fat loss. The same 300 mg oral dose creates peaks and troughs in blood concentration that may reduce efficacy and increase side effects. Moving to 400 mg weekly amplifies these differences. The injectable version S effects become more pronounced, while the oral version S limitations become more apparent. The fundamental difference between oral and injectable Primobolan lies in their absorption and metabolism. Oral Primobolan acetate has poor bioavailability. It's only about 30 to 40% of the ingested dose reaching systemic circulation. Users report better workout pumps, improved recovery, and enhanced muscle fullness compared to the oral version. The difference in muscle quality stems from injectable Primobolan as more stable activation of androgen receptors and greater impact on collagen synthesis, which improves tendon and ligament strength. This means a 300 mg oral weekly dose delivers roughly 90 to 120 mg of active compound to the bloodstream. The injectable enanthate version bypasses first-pass metabolism, delivering nearly all 300 mg of the dose to circulation. The acetate form's short 4 to 6 hour half-life requires multiple daily doses, while the enanthetate ester's 7 to 10 day half-life allows for weekly or twice-weekly injections. At 300 mg weekly, injectable Primobolan provides noticeable fat-burning effects, particularly in stubborn areas like the lower back and abdomen. Bumping to 400 mg intensifies this effect, creating a more shredded appearance. Oral Primobolan's fat loss at 300 mg weekly is mild, becoming slightly more apparent at 400 mg, but still lagging behind the injectable form. The oral version shows more modest improvements, 5 to 10% at 300 mg and 8.12% at 400 mg. The injectable's greater impact on neuromuscular efficiency and phosphocreatine recycling accounts for this difference. At 300 mg weekly, liver enzymes typically elevate 2 to 3 times normal levels with oral use, increasing to 3 to 4 times at 400 mg. The injectable version causes minimal enzyme elevation at both doses. This makes the injectable form preferable for longer cycles or those concerned about hepatic health. At 400 mg weekly, these results improve to 5 to 8 pounds with enhanced muscle hardness and vascularity. Oral Primobolan's fluctuating blood levels create periods of reduced lipolytic activity between doses. Injectable Primobolan at 300 mg weekly produces mild androgenic effects that become more pronounced at 400 mg. The oral version shows a similar pattern, but with more variability due to blood level fluctuations. Users report more consistent androgenic effects from the injectable form, while the oral version can cause unpredictable mood swings and irritability. At 300 mg weekly, oral Primobolan typically suppresses HDL by 30 to 40%, while increasing LDL by 20 to 25%. The injectable version at the same dose shows HDL reductions of 20 to 30% and LDL increases of 15 to 20%. Injectable Primobolan's impact on blood pressure is more modest and dose-dependent, making it the better choice for those with cardiovascular concerns. The injectable version S, weekly or twice weekly. Injections are more convenient but require dealing with needles and potential injection site reactions. At 300 to 400 mg weekly, oral Primobolan becomes expensive due to poor bioavailability, while the injectable form provides better value for money. At 400 mg weekly, these differences become more pronounced. Oral use may drop HDL by 40 to 50%, while injectable use stays around 25 to 35%. However, the injectable form at 100 to 200 mg weekly may actually be safer long-term due to avoiding liver toxicity. Both forms carry virilization risks that increase substantially at the 300 to 400 mg weekly range, making these doses generally unsuitable for most women. The oral version works better as a secondary compound in stacks, where its mild nature complements stronger steroids. Neither form provides enough anabolic power at these doses to serve as a standalone cycle for experienced users. The injectable version's primary long-term concerns involve cardiovascular damage from lipid alterations. Both forms can lead to androgen receptor desensitization over time, potentially reducing their effectiveness with repeated cycles. The oral version provides milder endurance benefits that become slightly more noticeable at 400 mg weekly. Athletes in sports requiring repeated explosive movements generally prefer the injectable form for these performance advantages. At 300 mg weekly, injectable Primobolan may suppress testosterone by 70 to 80%, while the oral version suppresses 50 to 70%. Oral Primobolan shows limited benefits even at 400 mg weekly, making it difficult to recommend except in specific circumstances where injections aren't feasible. These numbers increase to 80 to 90% for injectable and 60 to 80% for oral. Post-cycle recovery is generally quicker after oral use due to less severe suppression, though both forms require proper PCT. Both forms preserve lean mass during calorie restriction, but the injectable does so more effectively at equivalent doses. The oral version at 300 mg weekly produces modest gains of 2 to 4 pounds, while 400 mg may reach 3 to 5 pounds, but with more water retention and less muscle quality. At 300 mg weekly, injectable Primobolan produces stable blood levels that maintain consistent androgen receptor activation. The injectable form provides better muscle growth, superior fat loss, more consistent performance enhancement, and fewer health risks at equivalent doses. Oral Primobolan's higher cost, greater liver toxicity, and inferior results make it a less optimal choice for serious users. Muscle growth and body composition. Injectable Primobolan at 300 mg weekly typically yields 4 to 6 pounds of lean muscle over 10 to 12 weeks, with gains being dense and well-retained post-cycle. The injectable form's superior nitrogen retention becomes particularly evident at these doses. Fat loss and metabolic effects. Both forms enhance fat loss, but the injectable version shows greater efficacy. The metabolic differences arise from the injectable version's continuous activation of androgen receptors in fat tissue. Strength and performance enhancement. Injectable Primobolan at 300 mg weekly typically produces 10 to 15% strength gains over a cycle, improving to 15 to 20% at 400 mg. Endurance benefits follow a similar pattern. Injectable Primobolan at both doses significantly enhances workout capacity and recovery between sets. Side effect profiles. The 17-alpha-alkylated oral Primobolan shows greater liver toxicity than the injectable version. Androgenic side effects like hair loss and acne are dose-dependent with both forms. Cardiovascular impact. Both forms negatively affect cholesterol profiles, but the oral version is significantly harsher. Blood pressure elevation follows a similar pattern. The oral version causes more significant increases at both doses due to its hepatotoxicity and fluid retention effects. Endocrine system effects. Both forms suppress natural testosterone production, but the injectable version causes more profound suppression. Practical administration considerations. The oral version's dosing schedule, typically 2 to 3 times daily, makes compliance challenging. Women's use. Female athletes often prefer oral Primobolan at lower doses for its shorter half-life and easier discontinuation if virilization symptoms appear. Stacking potential. Injectable Primobolan at 300 to 400 mg weekly combines effectively with testosterone for lean bulking or with trenbolone for contest preparation. Long-term health considerations. Chronic oral Primobolan use at these doses risks liver damage, including fibrosis with prolonged use. Conclusion. Injectable Primobolan at 300 to 400 mg weekly outperforms the oral version in nearly every aspect except convenience. The 300 mg weekly dose of injectable Primobolan offers a good balance between results and side effects, while 400 mg provides more pronounced effects at the cost of increased androgenic and cardiovascular impact.